out and see J-Pod. And they aren't too far away. They're on the west side of San Juan Island, so it should be quite a spectacular sight this afternoon. We're going to go up and around by Turn Point with a beautiful lighthouse in the background. And you know, we never know what we're going to see out there each day.
There. Now that is a postcard of the Pacific Northwest. J1 and Granny. Now, J1 is the oldest male in all the southern residents, and Granny is the oldest female. She's almost 100 years old. 100 years old! It's amazing. These orcas live about as long as human beings live. And I think that's part of the reason why we're so connected to them, because they're so much like us. Human beings are the most widely dispersed mammal on land. These are the most widely dispersed marine mammals out there. They're in every ocean of the planet, just like we're on every continent. A lot of people will say that this is the reason why a lot of people live here. This is our totem species. It's kind of hard to explain because most of us who live in the Puget Sound area, we don't see orcas on a daily basis. We may not see orcas for a year or 2 or 3, but to know that they're out here and to know that they're doing fairly well despite all the problems that we cause for them, something that's uplifting about that. It makes it worth living in the Pacific Northwest. So we got to protect these orcas out here, and to see one that's 99 years old and a male who's 60, and that's really old for male orcas. To live into their 60s, it's incredible. You think about whales that are in captivity in SeaWorld. Females might live into their 30s, maybe 40s. Most whales die before they reach 20. But out here we have 2 whales who are in their 90s, almost 100, and we've got a big male out here who's 60. That's incredible. So with all the things that we're doing, all the problems that we're causing for these orcas, to see something like that gives you a little bit of hope. There's a chance. We got a lot of work to do though. But it's great to be on a boat like this. Let me tell you why. They're big boats. They have a lot of people. The impacts to the whales are very, very minimal. This is a great example of a whale watch boat that works. And the thing you're hearing, if you listen very carefully, you'll hear a bum, 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 bum. That low frequency is the key. The problem that a lot of these orcas have are the zippier boats, the ones who are making perpendicular approaches, the smaller boats that have sort of a higher frequency that they're putting into the water. And it makes the orcas have to work that much harder to use their acoustics, to find food and to keep track of each other. And when orcas increase their energetics, especially these orcas out here where there's not a lot of salmon anyway, you have salmon runs that are depleted down to 5 or 10% of their historic runs, and you have these orcas who have to work that much harder to find food, that's a bad combination. That's a recipe for disaster. And that's what happened to these orcas. Largely what happened to them is that their numbers plummeted precipitously right off the table. And scientists, in large part, attribute the acoustic noise, the cacophony that all of these little boats, not the big boats like this, but the little boats, the recreational boats, put into the water and just fill it up with noise pollution and make it that much harder to find fish. Now, the great thing about the San Juan Islands and about a lot of places throughout Puget Sound is that you can watch whales on shore. But this is how you watch whales if you are going to go on the water. We got a big boat, we're bringing a lot of people here, we got kids down here and parents, and they're all going to go home, get off this boat, and the first thing they're going to think about is, wow, we saw these orcas, I want to see them again, I want to make sure they're there when we come back. So it's building this constituency of people who want to protect the orcas. And the only way you can do that is to really give them that encounter, just like we're having right now, and to get them out with these whales and to teach them a little bit about these whales. We can do that. There's hope for recovering this population, and I think there's hope for all of us. You save the orcas, the top of the food chain, you save us. It's almost like philanthropy in a way. When Giants of the Pacific Northwest returns, we're going to go gray whale watching. You're going to see gray whales like you've never seen them before. We're going to begin by going down to Baja, Mexico, where these gray whales begin their epic migration north. Their 12,000-mile migration, the biggest in all the animal kingdom. And along the way, they pass through the Pacific Northwest. Stay with us. Hi and welcome back. I'm in the middle of the Nisqually Delta. This is the last undeveloped river delta system in all of Puget Sound. And something really amazing is happening here. It's called the Nisqually Reclamation Project. Kind of looks post-apocalyptic here, like somebody dropped a big bomb on it. But actually, life is coming back to this place. What they've done is they've pulled out all the culverts, the dams, all the barriers, have let the salt water come in, and have given this back to nature. And life is just exploding here. Every time you come back here, there's new life, there's new wetlands, there's new wildlife. The salmon habitat that's being recreated here is unbelievable. And the person who has spearheaded this Nisqually Reclamation Project is a guy named Billy Frank Jr., 78 years old, chairman of the Northwest Indian Fisheries Commission. This project is really his baby. And what Billy has taught us and what this reclamation project is showing us on a daily basis is that if you love whales, you want to help them, you want to feed them, you want to protect these salmon runs that feed these majestic animals that are right out here, you got to start looking at what's happening on shore. You got to save places like this. You know, Billy, you talk about teaching your children.
Yeah.
But you're also teaching my children.
Yeah.
In my case, my 1 2-year-old.
Yeah.
But as he gets older, I mean, these are universal lessons.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think what I've learned from you and your wisdom is that it's the lessons that you're teaching are not just for your tribe or the tribes in general. They're for all of us.
For all of us.
And not to get too Kevin Costner on us, because people are people.
Yeah.
We all fight.
Exactly.
We all fight amongst ourselves.
Yep.
The tribes have as many problems as any small town, you know, and nobody's perfect.
Nope.
But there are lessons, though. There are stories that the First Nations have nurtured over generations, over hundreds and thousands of years.
Yep.
That really can work here, can work in our crazy, complicated life.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, we talk about sustainability, you know, but to me, the notion of being in a confined area, you know, like the macaw, being out there in their little corner of the world,
exactly.
the end of the road, but to them, as they say, it's just the beginning.
The beginning of the
It's the beginning of the world, okay? But they can't just pack up and leave if they clear cut all their forests, or if they destroy all their salmon runs and everything. They just can't pack up and go.
No.
You know, and
there ain't nowhere to go. That's their country right there. That's their homeland.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That ocean and everything, the surroundings, has to feed them. Their food comes from that ocean.
Yeah.
And we got to make sure that that ocean's healthy.
Yeah.
You know, for all of us. And the whales are a big part of their lives. You know? Yeah. And their storytelling is what I listen to. You know, how important their whales are to them. You know? And when we went up to Barrow to witness all of the whaling up there, you know, it was just a celebration, you know. I'm sitting here today witnessing this great hunt up here for the bowhead whale. They're hunting for sustainability of their lives and their people. They bring that animal to shore and it's already divided up to all the families.
Matthew, Jessica Hobson, Roy Naka, William Hobson, Charlie Nakok, and Delbert Rexford. Did I miss anybody?
Yes, today is a good day. And that whale comes in and they celebrate over that life of that whale. They celebrate that life. And that's so important to our culture and our way of life. It's so important to the little guys up in the barrow to see and to walk on that whale, take part in that.
When we saw the macaw, the young macaw, getting up on that whale in May of 1999 and doing a backflip off of it,
right.
a lot of non-native people said, well, look at that,
Yeah.
you know, boy, look at they are really disrespecting that
Yeah,
whale.
yeah.
But it's not.
No,
It's just the opposite.
It's respecting the whale. You know, it's all about the respect of the life of that whale and what that whale, now he gave his life for us.
So maybe we should jump off the backs of cows.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Right? Climb up on cows and chickens. I don't think I can climb up on a chicken, but you know, maybe we should do that.
Yeah,
And we laugh, Billy.
Right,
You and I
right.
laugh about that, but that is true, isn't it? I mean,
Yep.
in the non-native community, we have a disconnect
Yep,
with the kill.
yep.
Those of us who eat
Yeah.
meat, you know,
Yeah.
some of us don't, but those of us who eat
Yeah.
hamburger and chicken, and
Yeah.
doesn't matter how organic and
Yep.
farm raised
Yep.
and outside, you know,
Yep.
cage free our eggs
Oh,
are,
yeah.
we have a disconnect
Yep.
with the use of these animals.
Yep.
But tribes have a closer connection to what they have, and that's what whaling is all about,
Yeah.
and that's what we saw up in Barrow.
Yep.
It's a celebration. It's a thank you
Yep.
to
It
the
was
whale.
a thank you.
Yeah.
And we were thanking the life of that whale for giving us so we can continue our life. And you know, there's a whole ceremony about that whole thing. The drums are talking and the songs that are sung, you know. All of these great important things are telling you what that whale is, so how it's so important to all of us. You know.
The relationship with the tribes and orcas are really quite unique. There's really no hunting of orcas among the First Nations, and no tradition of hunting.
Well, the orca is important to all of our tribes up and down the Pacific coast, and we welcome them. When the Chinook salmon starts running, that's when our first ceremony start taking place, when the salmon comes in and the orcas come in. So when you see an orca, you always feel good.
Because you know the salmon are in. You see
Yep.
orcas and
Yep.
you know the salmon are
The
in.
salmon are here.
Yeah.
The salmon are here, and he is happy. He's feeding on the salmon.
That's
you
right.
know? Yeah.
That's right. And the orca, in a sense, brings the salmon, and
Yep.
that's how they've looked at
Yep.
orcas. That's
Yep.
how you look at
Yep.
orcas. Isn't that right?
Yep. They bring the salmon, you know, maybe they're herding the salmon. Who knows? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the schools are coming down, you know.
Yeah.
And here comes the orcas talking. They got their little ones coming. and they're training them, you know, how to fish and how to hunt and everything. And they don't bother you. They go by you and they're making noise and they keep on going. You know, that is so important to all of us, to see them orcas come down and to go back that way or come this way. He's like magic to all of us. He takes care of us. He protects us.
The First Nations have told me stories about the orcas being the killer whale people.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
just killer whale
yeah,
whales, but killer whale people
Yep.
who live in a village
Yep.
at the bottom
Yep.
of the ocean,
Yep.
who zip off their
Yep.
orca
Yep.
costumes and sing
Yep.
and dance.
Right.
And, you know, in a way, they're beings.
Yep.
They're equal beings.
Yep.
And there's just a different sense that the First Nations have with orcas. And in that regard, if they do live in that village at the bottom of Puget Sound,
Yep.
we're just dumping trash on them, aren't we?
Yeah. And we got to quit that. Yeah. We got to protect all of our animals in the sea, including the killer whale, including the whales, and all of those things. And we can do that by what we're doing right here in the mouth of the Nisqually River, this beautiful estuary. And make sure that we have these pieces of property throughout Puget Sound, these estuaries that are so important to run off on the highways, to the, you know, to all of our animals, our ducks and everything that's living here right now. We're here as treaty tribes and Northwest tribes and the Makah people. We've ceded all this land to the United States to protect our way of life, and that's culture, and that's whales, that's salmon, that's our huckleberries, our gathering, our cedar trees, everything. It's our home.